Welcome to driver training. In this video, we're going to run through the emergency stop and how to do it. Why do we need to practice the emergency stop? Well, generally, just as we're driving, things like people being engrossed in their phones, not paying attention, means they can walk out in front of you without really thinking about it. Also, with buses, very often people can step out from behind them. If there's parked vehicles, again, people can step out without really thinking. And especially if it's raining or windy, people tend to walk with their heads down and not always paying attention to the traffic around them. So in all these cases, as a driver, we may need to take evasive action. Now, the first thing to think of with the emergency stop, it's not just the amount of distance it takes to stop, it's also the thinking distance. Because don't forget, as you're traveling at 30 miles an hour and you see somebody step out, it takes a few seconds for your brain to go, we need to stop. And then another couple of seconds for your foot to react to that. So we've got to take into account thinking distance as well. On your driving test, before doing this, the examiner will ask you to pull up on the left, and then they'll say to you, I will shortly ask you to carry out an emergency stop. When I give this signal, and that's when they tend to put their hand up, when I give this signal and say stop, I'd like you to stop as quickly and as safely as possible. But before giving the signal, I will look around to make sure that it's safe. But please wait for my signal before doing the exercise. So they're going to put their hand up and say stop. Now, one of the things that happens after they've pulled people up is that the person either drives off at breakneck speed and breaks the speed limit, or they just dawdle along really slow at about 15-20 miles an hour waiting for the stop. Don't. Just move off and get to the speed that the road allows. Generally on test, they will ask you to do this at around or under 30 miles an hour. They're not going to wait till you're on a 60-mile-an-hour road to do it. So don't dawdle along. Just get to the speed limit that is safe. How do we do it? Well, first of all, when we're driving normally, we can preempt things like this. So if there was a sign saying there's a school close or pedestrians or rows of parked vehicles, we can actually preempt people stepping out and then reduce the risk of this being needed. But if it is needed, the first thing we do is not check the mirrors. Our priority is stopping for the person in front. Remember, the idea is that you're braking in such a way as to save the life of a child. So you go quickly onto the brake pedal. Then you keep both your arms straight. Now, there will come times when we need to steer around things, but for today's lesson, we're going to stop in a straight line. And also, having both hands on your steering wheel acts as a sort of shock absorber. So as you brake, the weight of the car is thrown forward, and with both hands on the wheel like that, that holds you in position and you won't end up being pushed forward into the steering wheel. If we're in a manual car, we then want to do BBC, brake before clutch. The reason we want to put the brake on first is the engine is still then slowing us down and helping us to slow down as well. If we press the clutch down first, like if you're on a bit of a downhill, soon as you press that clutch in, the car is going to actually speed up and gravity is going to take over. So brake first, then clutch. If you're in the automatic, just obviously the brake. Once we've come to a stop, again, if we're in a manual, put the parking brake on. If you're in the automatic, you don't have to, just keep your foot on the brake. Then we're going to do a full 360-degree observation before moving off. So we're going to do left blind spot, left mirror, center mirror, ahead, right mirror, and right blind spot. The reason for that is we never intended to pull up there. So there's still a gap on our left where motorbikes, scooters, smaller vehicles can come up on the left side of us or the inside of us. So that's why we're checking that side first. Then we're looking to make sure nobody's trying to go round us before we decide to move off again. We want to think of this maneuver as in two parts. The first is to stop quickly, but then the second is to take our time looking round, making sure it's safe before we get ready to drive on. Just a quick word on the ABS system, the anti-lock braking system. Now, the book Driving the Essential Skills, written by the driving examiners, does say try and avoid braking so harshly that you lock the wheels on the car. Now, if the ABS has kicked in, that means your wheels were about to lock. So what we want to try and do is avoid braking so harshly that we lock the wheels, because ABS doesn't actually stop us any quicker. What it allows is a fraction of steering that you wouldn't normally have if the wheels were locked together. But if you're in an older vehicle or an older type van, you may not have ABS. So you don't want to get in the habit of just whacking that pedal on so hard that all four wheels lock, because then your car acts like a sled in the snow. It might be facing one way, but gravity will take over and push you another way. As we said earlier, when you brake sharply, the weight of the car is thrown forwards, so the back of the car can become light. And in older vehicles, if the brakes aren't adjusted properly, you might find the car starts to slide to one side or the other. So if the back of the car started sliding to the right, you would steer slightly to the right, and that would bring the wheels back in line. Therefore, if the back of the car started to slide to the left, then steer slightly to the left, and that would correct the skid. So we hope this video has helped you understand a little more about doing the emergency stop. Remember, 1 in 3 driving tests get this. So it's not guaranteed, but it is something that you need to learn and practice, not only for your driving test, but for your driving in general. Don't forget, in the description below is a link to the maneuvers folder if you'd like to use that for your driving or your private practice. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel for more useful handy driving hints and tips. My name's Chris from Driver Training Limited. Remember, keep well, drive safely, and we'll see you all again in our next video.